we'll come back to that. So I'll go back to
All
the
right.
screen here, and I think we're live.
Yep.
We are live. All right. All right, Dr. J. Dr. J's in the house. He's genetic expert, works at the Mayo Clinic, as you know. Did his PhD on our friend cholesterol and sex hormones and things like that. So we are going to do a little bit of talking about the estrogenic problem out there and a little bit about cholesterol. And then we're going to come on to this genetic report here. Dr. J is going to go over this to show you what you're going to get. So we'll go back here. So Dr. J wrote a book a while back. I think it was after you did your PhD when you started finding out all about these chemicals and you started grouping them together, Dr. J, and you found this pattern that we see on screen there. So let's just, I guess, speak a little bit about that.
Oh
And
yeah.
the problem that we all face is that the government isn't really acknowledging there's a problem, right? So but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I started researching fake estrogen chemicals like BPA and phthalates and parabens, all these estrogens usually you find them in fragrances and you find them in plastics and a few other sources, but you know, those are some of the big sources. When you research them, like when you research BPA, you'll find a lot of research studies on depression and BPA, or you'll find them on, like increasing weight. Excuse me, I have a sneeze, maybe,
You're all right.
maybe
You're
not.
all right.
And of course, hormone disruption because they're acting like estrogen, they're disrupting your hormones, and on and on. Like this whole list you have up on the screen here. Infertility certainly decreases with BPA exposures. Breast cancer, prostate cancer usually increases. I mean, sometimes you'll find, like it'll increase hyperactivity or attention deficit or some other condition also. But as you research other artificial estrogen chemicals, you won't see those, but you'll see the weight gains, you'll see the depression, you'll see the hormone disruption, you see the infertility. So there became a pattern that as I researched all these different artificial estrogen chemicals, they're mostly petroleum products, petroleum based chemicals. And except for of course soy and a couple of
Yeah.
unique ones, but I mean they all had the same issues in terms of health risks. And again, some of them had a few additional ones on top of that, but that's why I put together this list called the seven deadly things, because it, of course, reflects the seven deadly sins. It's just a bit of
Yeah.
irony,
Yeah.
but also just because there's such a pattern there, and
Mm.
people need to know that that's that pattern is because of this hormone disruption.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you wrote in your book there, like testosterone's plummeted since the 40s, since it's been recorded, but
Yep.
it's more, it's fertility plays into that as well. 50% reduction in sperm quality.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge. It's funny because did you see Dr. Shauna Swan wrote a book?
I haven't, no.
She was just on Joe Rogan podcast, and
All
she
right.
came,
Yeah, I saw you mention that on Instagram. Yeah. Well, we need to
yeah,
get you on that podcast, brother.
I know it's hard. He's emailed me before. Joe Rogan has emailed me before, and we've been
Yeah.
back and forth. But then he moved to Texas, and kind of we lost contact.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Dr. Swan, who wrote this book, basically the whole book is about infertility
Mm.
and how it's declining, and it's the same stuff I put in my book, a bunch of years ago when I wrote my book.
Yeah.
Um, Super important, and I'm glad she's raising awareness, but you know, it just continues to set records. Like every year there's another record for infertility. And
Yeah.
it's not like the fertility is just simply declining.
Mm.
It's people trying to have babies, struggling to have babies, and
Yeah.
that's what's really setting records every year. It's not just people don't want to have babies, it's that the ones that are trying are struggling more and more and more every year.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to continue as
And
long as we have these chemicals.
I guess that paves the way for lower testosterone, more more precisely the follicle stimulating hormone that's going to increase
Yep.
spermagenesis, but it
Yeah.
disrupts the whole pattern, doesn't it? But
Exactly.
it's not like we don't know about it. Like the European Union back in 2004, they started banning a lot of this shit. But
Yep.
Australia follows the US lead, so yeah, we're
Right.
way behind like you guys. I saw a
Right.
post by somebody that we've in America, again, Australia follows suit. We've banned 11 chemicals in personal care products, but the European Union have banned 1,300.
Right. Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Don't you guys advertise for drugs over there too on the TV? Like, I think Australia and America are the only countries it's legal to advertise pharmaceutical drugs on the television. I don't know if you guys do it as much as we do, or even if it's legal. I can't remember. It might be New Zealand, but I'm pretty sure it's Australia. It's all over the place over here. Like
hmm.
the amount of corruption that's
Yeah, I
in the
found a
system.
research paper that an Australian scientist wrote in, I think it was beginning of 2020 about that corruption, and he found evidence of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's there. It's pervasive for sure. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I can tell you. I mean, I'm behind the scenes a lot and I see it. You know, like an example of the corruption on my end, for example, would be just peer reviewing. If you send away a paper to get it peer reviewed for a medical journal,
yeah,
you select your peer reviewers. You tell the journal who's going to peer review your paper.
right, yeah. So you get your
That's
mates to
not
say
stupid.
this is great, Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
And they, as long as they have a PhD and look professional enough, it can just be
Yeah,
your buddies, of course. Um, and you can really get all kinds of shenanigans published
mm.
and tell people that soy is the best thing ever or whatever. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So it's going to shut you down real fast, isn't it?
Yeah, soy is a
Yeah,
big problem. I
and
mean, all the
milk is
scientists agree. Yeah, all scientists agree it acts like estrogen.
yeah.
Um, so it's crazy that people even argue about it. The vegans and things like that. And by the way, soy is addictive. It actually binds your opioid receptor. It's
Listen,
called
I'll get this research paper up and we'll have a look at
yeah.
that.
We're
Yeah,
getting there.
boom, there it is. Right.
Right. Oh
So,
yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
so it's yeah, not just. I found that rice has also got these opioid peptides in it too. But when you look
Interesting.
at Western food as a whole, it's everywhere: wheat, milk, soy, and soy is
Yep.
pervasive. Don't even know
Yep.
you're eating it because they hide it as vegetable oil.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, and food scientists are putting these products into your salad dressings and into all kinds of other things, specifically because they're addictive.
Mm,
And so if they hire people to try and make the foods more addictive and trigger more opioid receptor binding
yeah.
and basically
Yeah.
make it into heroin so people eat more
Yeah.
and it works, but you know,
It does, and it's convenient, isn't it? Like if you want to
yeah,
eat a certain way and you don't feel like cooking, you go to convenience, and then as you've got in
yeah,
your book here, ZEA's in it, rice,
yeah,
bread, puffs, corn snacks, and wheat flour.
yeah,
Then they spray it with atrazine. But I also found out that their pesticide formulations are full of these APOEs and things like that. So it's kind of a triple whammy, so to speak. It's addictive. It's got crap in it, and then it's just completely going to crush your testosterone.
exactly.
Mm,
Yeah, it's a problem, and that's why you see testosterone setting record lows as well. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, they used to have the normal range for testosterone up around 500, and then they lowered it to 400, and then they
okay.
now it's down to 300 and
350. Yeah,
250.
yeah,
Yeah, and of
yeah.
course these are American units. In Australia, it might be a little different with
Yeah,
the
it is.
units,
It's a
but
little bit different. I think 27
yeah,
down at about 5 or something like that. It's a ridiculous range. Like if,
yeah,
as
yeah,
you said, if your testosterone's 500 and below, big problem, better fix it.
yeah,
So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're making the normal range for testosterone, that doesn't mean you're in good shape
No,
necessarily,
it's like you got 50 in your math test, or maybe something like that. That doesn't
right?
mean when you aced it. You want to
Yeah,
ace your
yeah,
testosterone test. But
exactly.
these phthalates, I remember you saying that they're like glitter. They're everywhere. We're breathing them in all the time, and
Exactly.
they're what I find concerning is your loved one in the hospital. They're on a IV drip, and this shit's
Hmm.
going into their veins.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, Shauna Swan was just talking about that on this Joe Rogan episode I was referencing.
yeah,
Um, and it's it's been a problem well before she wrote her book. I mentioned it in my
You
book, you
did.
know what I
That's why
mean?
I
Like,
bring it up. I remember
yeah,
you mentioning it, and I was just like, "Holy shit, really?
yeah,
They're putting chemicals into you in the hospital on a drip."
exactly.
Mm,
Yeah, it's a problem. Not to mention, a lot of people that donate blood are on birth control, and their blood's full of other estrogen chemicals like BPA and phthalates because they're not paying any attention. It's true of stem cells too. I do a lot of research on stem cells,
yep.
and at the Mayo Clinic, I've done a lot of work on stem cell research and epigenetics. And if you get stem cells from somebody and then you inject them into another person, all bets are off. Like if you get stem cells from somebody who's super healthy like yourself, those stem
Mm.
cells are usually going to be really good.
Oh, yep.
Um, and if you get stem cells from just like an average American, those
They're
are
not going to
probably,
work.
I call them McDonald's stem cells. They're basically just like junk
French
food stem
fry
cells.
stem cells.
Yeah, they don't really work. And then, of course, the
Yeah.
research is all over the place because
Mm,
some scientists will say, oh, stem cells work amazing. Other scientists will say, oh, no, stem cells don't work at all. Well, it's
yeah.
because they're McDonald's stem cells and they're full of these estrogen chemicals and all kinds of other garbage. And
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Yeah. So, like medical devices, children's toys, they're everywhere. Soap, deodorizers. I mean, they're even in testosterone cream, right? So,
Yeah,
I mean, that's just crazy to me. If you're on testosterone replacement therapy, it's
yeah,
in the cream. So, how is that
right,
helpful? It's kind of not.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think there's like four different varieties of testosterone cream, and only one of them doesn't have artificial estrogen.
Only one.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's,
I think it's called TRT base. That's
yeah.
the good one.
Yeah.
All the other
Yeah.
ones that I've seen the ingredients on, people send me the ingredient lists and they always have those fake estrogens.
Mm. No, it's a absolute mess out there, and I kind of would like to live in the European Union because it's a lot easier to avoid these damn chemicals. But
Right.
as you say, like I remember when we talked a lot while ago that you get in your hot car and you're breathing it in.
Yep.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's they protect the plastic in the car with was it UV? I forget what like a sunscreen type of
Oxybenzone. Yeah, oxybenzone.
oxybenzone. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It's
yeah,
a UV protectant, which is an
yeah,
estrogen.
yeah,
And and what people need to do, especially in Australia where it's hotter, open the windows, air that car out when you first get in when it's
yeah,
that hot, and
yeah.
then roll them back up and turn your air conditioner on or whatever. But at least initially get that smell out of there because it
Mm,
condenses over time, right? Like if the car is sitting overnight for 12 hours
yeah,
and the windows are all closed, it's a sealed environment.
yeah.
You've got a lot more buildup of those fumes. They're literally fumes. I
Mm,
mean, they've done studies on infant mattresses, like crib mattresses for babies,
yep.
and scientists find that concerning. The fumes coming off of those plastic mattresses are concerning for
Wow. Yeah.
even for cancer risk and things like that later down in life. So, you
Mm,
know, the less of
yeah.
that stuff, the better.
Exactly. I remember when we had a conversation about the sunscreen, that oxybenzone, it stays in your blood for about 7 days with one application.
Exactly.
But to
Yep.
make matters worse, it bakes onto your estrogen receptors. So it's
Right.
pushing down hard on your man boobs and
Yep.
storing
Yep.
fat.
Exactly. No, I mean,
Yeah.
that's accurate.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy that that chemical is even legal. But then when you go to the store to buy sunscreen, it's in like virtually all the sunscreen.
I
So not
found it in
only is
my
it legal, it's everywhere.
yeah, I found it in my wife's moisturizer.
Yep.
It's got
Yep.
sunscreen in it. It's got oxybenzone in it. I'm thinking, okay, we'll just toss that.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
Then
yeah,
they brag about it. Like the companies will tell you that, like, oh, we've got sun protection so you don't damage your skin or whatever else. And then you're damaging your skin by putting on these fake estrogen petroleum chemicals. And they do it with the hair too. They'll tell you, like, oh, this shampoo has UV protectants or whatever. And they market on that and they
yeah.
send out advertisements and things and brag about that.
And all it really is a Trojan horse. But it's not
Yep.
just to pushing down your estrogen receptors, it's causing oxidative stress and inflammation.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah. And
just
yeah, they
trying
did a
to,
study. They did a study, Mark. It was funny. It was on fruit flies. So it's not animals, but it's flies. It's still a research study. It's better than just cells.
Yeah.
And they showed that parabens, which are in a ton of personal care products, they act like estrogen.
Yeah.
A lot of people have like these anti-aging creams with parabens in them and these lotions and all kinds of other stuff. Parabens shorten the lifespan dramatically, like 50% less lifespan on these fruit flies.
Really. Yeah.
Um, and so people are
Man,
using these anti-aging creams or whatever,
anti-aging and it's
and they're
paraben.
full of parabens, right? So they're probably accelerating their aging, including skin aging.
Oh man, that's yeah. If people only knew what was going on, and but the biggest thing that I find is that they say that how could the government hurt you, right? I mean,
Right.
never going to hurt
Sure.
you, but look what's going on.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's just
Well, the problem is there's so much money behind the scenes getting passed around
yeah,
to
right
protect
there.
people's interests that that's where it gets questionable. Whenever there's money, there's corruption. At
Mm,
least when there's billions of dollars, and there's definitely billions of dollars in a lot of these industries, these petroleum industries and these chemical industries.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that's why a lot of these doctors are being silenced too, because
Yep.
the government wants is first and foremost going to look after the economy, then it's going to look after your health second. But they've got big pharma to put band-aids on you for that. So your
Right. They
health
make you
span
more.
kind of goes down
Hmm.
considerably at the expense of convenience. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a messed up system, and I feel like people have to self-educate. They have to be aware of this,
Yeah.
and step away from that system because the professional doctors basically are just waiting until you're extremely sick, and then they're giving you prescription drugs and looking at symptoms. You don't want
Yeah.
to be in that system.
Pathology
You'd
comes
rather
up
just
and
say again.
yeah, until a pathology, you don't really know that there's anything wrong with you. You just experience low testosterone, low energy,
Low
brain
energy.
fog, all these things that we're told to accept. And
Yep.
then all of a sudden the pathology comes along and it's a wake up call. And that's what it kind of was for me. Asthma got to a
Right.
point where I was just about, my pop died of an asthma attack. And that's what I thought was going to happen to me in October 2017. So that's
Hmm.
kind of when I learned all about this stuff. And I first heard about it from Dr. Ken Berry.
Yep. Oh yeah, friend.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he's one of the rare doctors, right? A lot of doctors are making too much money, so they're so content making the money, they don't want to speak out and say, look,
Yeah,
what I'm doing is really not helping people get healthy. It's just basically waiting until people are super sick and giving them drugs and suppressing symptoms and all this kind of thing.
exactly. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
much better off taking matters into your own hands
Mhm.
and optimizing your health so that you have all that energy and everything else. I mean, it's more fun at the end of the day. People say like, well, I don't want to like stop eating gluten or stop eating whatever because it's no fun. And then they have zero energy, they have zero sex drive, 10 years later, and
Yeah,
it's like, well, who's having fun now? You know what I mean? Like I'm outside doing all kinds of outdoor activities and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, like it's a little bit harder in terms of discipline to avoid this stuff, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it's convenience. We've just given up our hormones and energy for convenience. And that kind of feeds into itself because you're too tired to go and do the right thing. So
Yeah.
you pick up the McDonald's trash or whatever it is. And
Hmm.
that's just completely, I mean, that's so toxic. It's not even funny.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's full of, I mean, these things here, like AGEs, advanced
Yep.
glycation end products, damage fats, and look what it does: atherosclerosis, arthritis,
Right.
asthma, and it shortens your telomeres. Can you speak to that for a little moment? What does shortening your telomeres mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny because two things. I was just describing to somebody earlier today what advanced glycation end products are because they never heard of glycation. And I was saying, look, glycation is just scientists' way of saying sugar. Just
Sugar.
it's just a way that snobs like me like to say the word sugar and sound
Yeah.
fancy.
Yeah.
It just means there's a lot of sugar on your stuck on your proteins, and that ages your cells faster. Um, but telomeres are the end caps on your DNA, and the analogy I always use for telomeres is shoelaces.
Yeah.
So like on your shoelaces, oftentimes you have little plastic caps on the ends,
Yeah.
and your DNA has the same thing. They're called telomeres, and as we age, they get shorter.
Yeah.
So if you could look at the DNA of a baby versus a 50-year-old, you can actually tell this DNA comes from the baby and this DNA over here comes from the 50-year-old simply by how long the DNA is. Because
Right.
as we age, it shortens. And I've had people, we've done DNA consults, and I've had people that had already tested their telomere length. You can do tests and actually determine what your telomeres are.
Yep.
Um, so if there's a difference between biological age and chronological age, meaning like how old you actually are, and then how old your cells are.
Yep.
And like one example, there was a guy, his actual age I think was about 54, and his cells, his actual biological age was about 65 or 66 or something. It was pretty
Wow.
bad.
Yeah. And
And we did his DNA consult, and about 2 months later, pretty quick, he retested his telomeres after he dialed in and got healthy and all this. And his cell age went all the way down to the 30s, like 39.
yep.
So
Yeah.
he's
So
55 years old, but his cells were 39.
well, the good news is you implement the strategies, you can recover and age slower.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So
That is
he's aging like a 30-year-old, or his cells are acting like a 30-year-old, right? So what
Yeah.
does that mean from health wise? He's just more youthful, has more
Correct.
vitality.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
A lot less risk for disease, right? Because one of the biggest risk factors for disease is age. So like when you're 30, you don't really have an Alzheimer's risk. But if your cells are 80, if you're smoking and doing like all stressed out and not sleeping and all that, you can start to build up plaque in your brain at age 30. But for the most part, age is the biggest risk factor for heart disease, for cancer, for literally everything.
yeah.
And if you're aging your cells prematurely, then it's even worse.
Yeah. It's and it's not just sugar because this bread turns into sugar in the blood, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So people kind of attribute it to just sugar, but it's carbohydrates. And it really comes down to how your body disposes of glucose, because if the glucose is too high too long, that's where the problem is.
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people get below 4.7. In American units, it's 85. Get that blood sugar below 85.
Yeah.
Or again, in Australia, 4.7.
Yeah.
That's the cutoff,
And
like you
you want to
have to do
keep it
that.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we can
Because,
operate quite, high performance, high cognition, high energy, not a problem. It's just that the government is, especially when I went through personal training school, they just said carbs, carbs, carbs. And morning,
right.
yeah, for morning tea, for lunch, for afternoon tea, for dinner. And
Yeah.
when you went over my DNA, you said that my joints, I've got a fourfold risk for arthritis when
Mhm.
my blood glucose is over 90, and I've had 5 shoulder surgeries.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how it goes, right? I mean, you can't cheat the system for too long. Eventually, they start having those
It caught up
issues.
with me. It certainly did. So I think what we'll do now is have a look at this cholesterol thing. Then we'll go on and have a look at the DNA.
Mm. Yeah, perfect. This is my favorite study in terms of cholesterol. And it's
Yeah.
good timing too, Mark, because when I talk to people about their cholesterol, some people have genes where they have legitimately high total cholesterol. It's like 400, 500, 600, and it gets concerning, but it's super rare.
Yeah.
Most people have cholesterol. Average person, by the way, is about 200. And again, these are American units. I think in Australia the units are pretty similar for total cholesterol. I can't remember.
We follow you guys. That's what our
Yeah, for
government
the total
does.
cholesterol. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the average person is 200, but as soon as you get above 200, the doctors want to put you on statins, and they try and make you afraid. They'll
Yeah.
tell
That's
you
right.
they'll
Yeah.
tell you you're going to have a heart attack any minute, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And look at the numbers, right? Like the hazard ratio. This study is called total cholesterol all cause mortality, meaning death by any cause. You can die of heart disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, and it's 12.8 million people, so you can't say it's not very many people.
Hmm.
And if you're a vegan and you're coming in at a total cholesterol of 120, which a lot of my vegan clients are coming in at 120 or 130 or something like that,
Yeah.
the doctor will come in and tell you that you're the model of good health. They'll tell you like your health is amazing. Yes, you have zero energy. Yes, you have zero testosterone. Yes, you have no sex drive,
Hmm.
but you're the model of good health. That's what they'll tell you. And if you look at the actual data, which is right here, you have a super high hazard of dying Like the hazard ratio is sky high when your total cholesterol is as 120, 140, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
when you're in that range where they're telling you that you're a model of good health. And you feel it, like you don't feel very good, but again, doctors are telling you this, so it must be true. But what's funny is when you get to 200 and 240, like I'm usually 220 to 240 on my total cholesterol, the doctors panic. They tell me that I'm going to have a heart attack in any minute.
same.
It's so stupid because that's the absolute best place to be with your total cholesterol for energy and for all cause mortality, meaning low, low, low risk of dying.
Yep.
And yeah, when you get above 300, you might have some genes, and we might need to work on that. It's usually just diet can fix that pretty easily, but
Yep.
most people don't need to think about that at all. And the reason I say it's perfect timing is because when we're talking about blood sugar, uh, when you get above 85, and again, that's American units,
Yep.
Australia, it's 4.7. When you get above 4.7 on your blood sugar, fasted in the morning, that's a threefold higher risk of heart disease.
That's so important. You need to repeat that. So when you're over 85 or 4.7, your blood sugar, that's a threefold risk for heart disease.
Threefold higher risk of having a straight up heart attack. And cholesterol, it's protective when you're 220 or 240. So the doctors, they'll see your blood sugar at 95 and they'll say, "Oh, everything's fine." Right?
Yeah.
And they'll see your cholesterol at 220 and they'll panic. And it's totally reversed. It's
Yeah.
totally opposite. In other words, like if your blood sugar is high like that, that's what they should be focusing on, because that's the real risk. That's the threefold higher risk of heart disease. And your cholesterol is not even higher risk. It's so
Yeah.
absurd, but it happens literally every day in these cardiologist clinics. It's basically corruption. They're just pushing statins. It's just the way that they're educated. And it's really frustrating because they don't look at studies and things like this. They're just taught this way from the textbooks. And, if you don't believe it, go to the cardiologist and get your cholesterol and your blood
Yeah.
sugar checked, and ask them, hey, if I get a 95 on my blood sugar, what do you think about that? Or if ask them some numbers, throw some numbers at them, and they'll say, oh, that's terrible. That's okay. That's fine. Blood sugar high. Oh, that's fine. Cholesterol high. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's because of
It's
Ansel Keys all the way back in the 60s, and it's just been cholesterol for like 80 years or 60
Yep,
years. But
exactly.
like if people can just understand that if their blood glucose is over 85, that's gonna, if it's over that, especially for a long period of time, you've got a threefold risk for not well, look, I guess it is arthritis too, but heart
Well, in
disease as
your
well.
case, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Heart disease is across the board. The arthritis is specific to certain people with certain genetics. Some people have genes where their brains don't handle carbs very well. Some people can handle carbs better with their brains,
yeah. And
et
that's
cetera, et
that's
cetera.
when glucose is high, that's going to lower your testosterone too, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. At some point,
Mm.
because it causes, like we mentioned, it causes these advanced glycation end products, these AGEs,
And inflammation too, doesn't
and
it?
those are inflammatory.
And
Yep.
then when your testosterone's low, this research paper that I found kind of shocked me. Predictors of
Hmm.
frailty,
Hmm.
disability, and cardiovascular events. But
Right.
when you go to your classically trained doctor, and they mean really well, they don't look at your testosterone. They don't give a shit. It's not that. It's cholesterol. It's cholesterol and your lipids.
Exactly. Well, and it's funny because doctors in America, at least, they used to tell people, if you get on testosterone replacement, you're going to have a heart attack. That's what they used to tell people. And again, that's scary. So people would listen to that.
Mm,
But they didn't have any actual data to support that. They would just tell that to people. That was part of their training. And the only reason they would tell that to people is because when you get on testosterone replacement, your cholesterol goes up a little bit.
yeah,
And so they assumed it would cause heart attacks. And now recently they've done that study and they've actually looked at what happens when you take testosterone replacement. Heart disease goes down, heart attacks go down, strokes go down. You're protected against all of that stuff.
mm,
And even though your cholesterol goes up when you're on testosterone replacement.
mm,
So it's super ironic that, once again, they've been basically telling people this, and it's completely backwards. And at least now they've changed. Like they're not telling people that you're going to have a heart attack if you get on TRT. At least they should. Some of the old school doctors will still do it because that's just, it's so ingrained in their system. They've just been telling that to people for 20 years, and they're just going to keep telling people. And
yeah,
you know, it's just the way it is. But most of the younger doctors, at least, aren't spouting that anymore.
yeah. Well, that's a good thing. So you should probably go to a younger doctor. But,
Yeah, for
right,
that,
so
right.
yeah, we've covered the chemicals. We know they're kind of shit. We've covered cholesterol and sugar, so that's the problem. Blood sugar levels.
Right.
And let's have a look at this one here. So you
Yep.
sent this one to me a little while ago. It's one of my family members, so I guess we can just go over this one. Just
Yeah,
so
sure.
guys, what Dr. J is going to do now is this is a report that you'll get from Dr. J. So we're just going to go over it to show you what is involved. All right.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. So like what I'm looking at when I get these DNA reports, it's always good to keep in mind, I say this every single time and it's worth repeating, that we actually have 2 copies of DNA in every cell in our body. The only cells that don't have 2 copies are egg and sperm cells. Egg and sperm cells have 1 copy of DNA. So of course, when they fuse together, that's where you got the copy of DNA from your mother and the copy from your father. And the reason that's important as a backdrop is because you see on this report, there's plus plus genes. Later on, there's some plus minus genes. And what that means basically is like plus, like when there's 2 pluses, that means you're positive, you have a plus for 2 bad copies of the gene. You've got a bad copy of that gene from your mother and a bad copy of that gene from your father.
Right.
And so that's a powerful problem. And if it's a plus minus, which again, sometimes those do come up on my report, that means, yeah, you got your positive for one of the bad copies. You do have 1 bad copy of the gene, but you also have a good copy of the gene. So it's less problematic.
Right.
And sometimes plus minus genes, you have health issues from them. Sometimes you have nothing from them. They're hard to predict. So I don't worry too much about those unless you have symptoms. If you have like bad joints and you've got a bunch of plus minus genes in the joint section, well, we'll pay attention to that. But if your joints are good, we don't have to worry about that. Assuming you're healthy and you're doing all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the backdrop. And again, I'm looking for bad genes, right, Mark? I mean, like you have thousands of good genes, but I'm not, hopefully you have thousands, and most people do. Pretty much everybody has thousands of good genes or they wouldn't be alive, but I'm not interested in those good genes. We could spend all day talking about your good genes and how amazing they are. And I'm looking for the bad ones. I want to figure out the worst ones you have. Let's figure out how to fix them. Let's figure out how to prevent the stuff from happening because they're all very preventable. You can work around this stuff. There's no like gene that screws you over.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have pretty bad genes for heavy metal clearance in your brain. It doesn't screw you over. Just don't have a bunch of heavy metals in your system and you'll totally prevent Alzheimer's, right? You can see there's a section for heavy metals, for Alzheimer's brain performance and heavy metals. Some people have genes in that section. But again, it's not like, oh, now you've got a risk for Alzheimer's from heavy metals, you're screwed. It's a better attitude to just say, well, now we can do something about it. Now that we have the knowledge, we've got to be especially careful for that person to avoid the heavy metals, right? So that's the backdrop. And like some of these genes here, like CETP, it's an Alzheimer's risk if your triglycerides are high.
Yep.
And if they're not, it's not a risk. So for somebody with a gene like that, you'd want to really pay attention to your triglycerides, check them on your blood test. Again, I'm using the American units. One of these days I might go through my software and actually put the Australian units on all of these for people. It's just a lot of work, but there's free online conversions. You can go online and just say, convert the units for triglycerides and it'll do it for you. It's kind of like pounds to kilograms. It's not that hard to do. But, you definitely want to check your triglycerides when you have that gene. And as you know, lowering carbs lowers your triglycerides. So generally, if you just lower carbs, you're good.
You're good. Yeah.
And exercise.
So guys, let me ask you a real quick question here. So you'll be looking at my DNA, my understanding, right, Mark? Eventually, when I get the test.
Yeah.
So my father and my grandmother both had Alzheimer's. All right. So you'll be able to see if I also have a propensity for Alzheimer's, correct? And then kind of give me some ideas of what I need to watch.
You got it. Oh, exactly.
Cool.
Not only that, not just whether or not you have a risk for Alzheimer's, but whether you have a specific risk in which specific category.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it's not just a global risk, it's pretty specific. Like some people have a risk that's related to inflammation, some people it's related to cholesterol, some people it's related to something totally different.
Okay.
And I can pick out those differences too. So then we can address it in a pretty specific way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
basically, sorry.
No, go ahead, Mark. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Basically, the genes are working slower and not with efficiency, so we can tune them up to work better.
Yep. Yeah, and anxiety comes up here. I just had a client this morning with terrible anxiety. And of course they had tried Prozac and Zoloft and Lexapro, and I mean there's a bunch of drugs. They're called SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Super popular, super common. The problem is, of course, the doctors, if you got anxiety or depression, usually the doctors go right to those because they're trying to increase serotonin in your brain. But the drugs are fake, they're patented, they're artificial, they're not found in nature.
Yeah.
They have side effects. What most doctors don't think about, and they don't even realize, even the professionals, they don't realize 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut. So if you got risk for anxiety or depression or
Wow.
whatever
Okay.
relating to
Yeah.
serotonin, you've got to fix your gut. You got to have a healthy gut.
Yeah.
It's key.
Healthy
And then, of
gut.
course, we talk a lot about the gut later in the DNA report because some people have amazing gut genes. They have an iron stomach. They can eat all kinds of shenanigans and whatever, and their gut's fine. Other people are super sensitive to gut issues, and it causes all kinds of mental issues when you have some of these genes.
Yeah.
And these genes are pretty common. Like that's
Yeah.
why Prozac is so damn common. It's because these anxiety genes are common. It's not like some rare gene here.
Yeah.
Um,
So plus would be when you see a couple of pluses, you're saying that's a pretty,
yeah,
that's a sense that the person has a lot of anxiety or whatever, right?
a
Plus
risk
plus.
for it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Risk. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and caffeine can be an anxiety trigger as well. Like you see here, I mean, this person's got a plus in the anxiety for caffeine. So the good news is with this person, this particular DNA report, caffeine is burned quickly. So their body burns caffeine quick. Probably doesn't cause anxiety because they're metabolizing, they're breaking down the caffeine really fast.
More
But
than
other
likely.
people break down caffeine slow, and then if you've got those anxiety genes from caffeine, it'll just cause all kinds of extra anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So you've even got alcohol and nicotine dependence here too. So this
Exactly.
person didn't have an issue with that. Yeah.
And it can
Yep.
tell if I have any of these dependencies, even if I don't take any, even if I don't smoke, it could tell me if I had the dependence.
If you have a
Wow.
risk for dependence. Oh yeah.
If I
Like
have
some
a risk,
people, if
risk. Okay.
yeah, like you're not gonna have a dependence unless you're doing it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
but
Well, yeah,
but you certainly can have a
but
higher.
if I started to do it, that's when the dependence would develop, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Like some people, alcohol triggers their opioid receptors, and it's like heroin.
Mm.
And then it's super risky. I tell those people, like, don't even mess around with alcohol. It's not worth it. It's way too risky.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it'll run in their family like crazy, you know?
So the alcohol, the people who do have problem that it hits their opioid receptors like morphine. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
oh,
Oh,
that's
there's
right. They
genes
crave
too.
it.
There's other. Yeah.
They
Yep.
crave it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not to mention the anticipation with dopamine to get that first drink.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Reward chemicals. Yeah.
So,
Lifespan. There's a lot of different options people can have in the lifespan section. Some people, like, for example, earlier today, like I said, I had 3 DNA clients earlier today. So just to pull some examples from those, and I do almost 2 or 3 every single day. So, I've done this for 12 years. But, an example of lifespan genes I saw earlier, one person had a gene where their body makes less stem cells. And so increasing stem cells for them is super important. And there's very good ways to do that. And we talked about that. And everybody's different, right? Like if you don't have those genes, no need to worry and waste a bunch of time spending money on stem cells and
yeah.
chasing those kind of dragons when they're not real.
Yeah.
That's a great point because you really don't know what to chase when you don't know this
Right.
information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I
And
always say knowledge is
normally
power.
you're probably off, whatever you're chasing
Exactly.
is probably not the right thing.
All the time. Yeah, people spend hundreds of dollars a year.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. We want less stuff coming into our bodies to turn all those performance pathways.
Yeah.
Do something is not just wasting your coin.
This will be
Yeah.
really interesting when we finally get the results back from me,
Yeah.
Mark. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't just unbelievably powerful.
Mm.
And of course, the diet section, very varied based on different individuals, how their body handles blood sugar, dairy. I had a person today with dairy sensitivity issues, and of course they had the genes in this section. Causes a lot of extra inflammation from them. If it doesn't, I don't have a problem with dairy except for the estrogens, But if you can get a good source of dairy, that's different. And again, we talk about that. Like if people have issues with processed meats, we talk about that.
Mm.
So there's so many variations. I mean, there can be hundreds of different variations in a lot of these categories, but what's interesting about blood sugar, almost everybody has a few type 2 diabetes risk genes. And that's an indicator to me that virtually everybody should have like lower carbs. They shouldn't be eating high carbs at least.
Mm.
And our ancestors just didn't. Like humans in general shouldn't be eating high carbs. That's my conclusion.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not you, Mark, and it's not me. It's not art. It's just humans. And
Yeah, like marathon runners, like Peter Attia, he said
yeah,
this himself, that he developed type 2 diabetes even though he was swimming like miles and miles and miles.
right.
And that's
It
due
hits
to the
everyone.
glucose, Scott? Is that due to the glucose in it, or
Glucose, exactly.
it's all about glucose?
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
carbs are into glucose. Yeah, even complex carbs.
Yeah.
I stopped eating it, but I'm just interested. I used to think it was really good for me. And I used to eat oatmeal every morning, and they would have carbs in it, but I always heard they were good carbs. But I don't know anymore because Mark doesn't have me on anymore. I don't eat it. Just for
Yeah.
interest's sake, do you know if oatmeal is bad?
It depends on your genes. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say in general, yes, it's risky. It's going to raise your blood sugar.
Okay.
Um,
I used to eat a ton of it, Mark.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
It depends on the person though. Some people can handle carbs amazing. I mean, it's rare. It's very rare. I do bump into those people though, and I tell them eat carbs if they want. Like, I don't have a problem. If you have good genes for it and your blood sugar is good, like you got to check your blood sugar at the end of the day.
Yeah. That's what it comes down to. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I
if you're
find
driving, it's like driving a car without instruments. You got to know your miles per hour, or kilometers per hour, or whatever the units are. Like you have to have a good sense of your instruments in order to be optimized.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Well, for example, for me, if I eat a lot of sugar, like if I eat cakes and stuff, I'll know it. I'll get headaches and things like that, So I really have to watch that intake. So my gut says my tolerance for carbs is probably not all that high.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. So the FTA genes here are fine, not like mine.
Yeah. Some people, some
Yeah.
people just don't have that much risk for obesity, and you can still get obese, right? Like even if you don't have the genes for it, if you try hard enough and eat comfort foods and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But usually, those risk genes are a much bigger problem.
Yeah, I've got 3 of those FTOs. So
Oh wow, yeah,
yeah.
that's hard. It's hard to lose that weight. It takes more discipline, basically.
Well, yeah, for me, it's not a problem anymore, but it used to be. When I went through and did the personal training thing, I could never get lean. Could never
Right.
get lean following their advice. But
Oh yeah, right.
you can't because you're just told to eat carbs all day long, all night long.
Yeah. Well, and the gene that jumps out at me on this page here in the heart disease is also super variable, just like Alzheimer's. It's not just one thing. Like cardiologists like to just say it's plaques in your arteries, it's cholesterol, but sometimes it's related to, sometimes it is cholesterol, but most of the time it's something else. This SOD2 gene is very interesting because it's not a risk of heart disease. It's a 0-fold higher risk of heart disease, but if your ferritin is high, like your iron in your blood, it's a 10-fold higher risk of heart disease. So
Right.
the obvious solution here is to check your ferritin and make sure it's not high. And if it is high, get it down. You just donate blood. It's that easy. Just once a year, go in and donate blood, get rid of that ferritin. It's like changing your oil.
Really? It's that simple just to donate?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, really? Okay.
That's why women usually have low ferritin, because their period every month is
Yeah.
basically donating blood, and they have low iron because they're always dumping it out.
Yeah.
And then they either have to eat liver or supplement iron or something like that. Eat more red meat, bump their
Mm.
iron up to be optimized,
Yeah. So that's a
especially
superoxide
athletes.
dismutase gene.
Yep, yep. Yeah,
Interesting.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's going to attenuate oxidative stress too. So it's a super important gene, but I guess this one reacts too much with iron, and that's why it's a problem. So it's
Specifically.
kind of like rusty,
Yep,
steel rusting, but it's your arteries rusting.
exactly. Yep. Yeah,
So,
and cholesterol here looks pretty good. I mean, there's what, 1 plus minus. It's not that big. Keep the triglycerides down. Again, those should be down anyways if your carbs are low.
yeah. So,
Lectins comes up. I mean,
it,
yeah, it's always variable. Like I say, like I had one person yesterday, 0 risk genes in the whole heart disease section. So they
really,
could probably smoke and do all kinds of bad things for their health, and they'd probably still never get heart attacks and plaques in their
really,
arteries.
yeah, that's
But that's
crazy.
pretty rare. And of course, they'd probably get cancer and all kinds of other stuff. They'd have effects from
Yeah.
smoking and whatever else, but at least they wouldn't get heart disease.
Yeah.
um,
So
so it's,
lectin, that's a plant toxin, right? So
yeah,
that can
lectin's
increase
like a
heart disease
category.
risk.
What's that?
So the lectins can increase heart disease risk in this individual
Oh
here.
yeah,
Wow,
exactly.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so like lectin, it's kind of like saying automobile. Like automobile is a big class. It includes cars, it includes trucks, it includes vans. Like
Yeah.
lectins are just plant toxins that the plants make to protect themselves from being eaten. And they don't usually make lectins in their leaves because they don't care. Like if a deer eats the leaves off of a plant, the leaves just grow back. It's not that big of a deal. But if
Yeah.
a deer eats spinach seeds or something like that, well, that's the offspring of the plant, so they don't want you to be wiping out the plants. So they put a
Right.
whole bunch of lectins in their seeds. So for the
Okay.
most part, when you have lectin genes that trigger plaques in your arteries, you just
Yeah.
have to avoid seeds, like
Right.
mostly grains, including the oatmeal, by the way. And gluten is one of the lectins. It's not all.
Really.
It's not the only lectin. There's a lot of other lectins, but gluten is an example of a
That's
lectin.
interesting. Yeah. So if you had a tomato which you got lectins, nightshades, and if you avoid the seeds in the tomato, you're
Then
largely
you're good.
safe. Is that right?
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
just the
Okay.
seeds. Yep,
Yeah. Excellent.
Wow.
That's good to know. Yeah. Yeah.
yep. Yeah, the biggest problem is the grains because most Americans are just eating loads of grains.
And they're full of lectins.
They're full of
And
lectins,
if you
all of
got
them.
this gene here, you're shit out of luck. You've got a big,
Yeah,
yeah, okay. And
It's
then
just
plus
so wild because you're told those things are good for you, like you guys say, the
right,
grains
yeah,
and the whole grains and oatmeal and everything else. I was told
right.
for years that, and I actually thought I was feeling better eating all the oatmeal, and come to find out it probably wasn't.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a long term. It's a ticking time bomb. But again, some people have good genes for that, and I'm okay with that. If you've got great genes for dealing with lectins and all that kind of thing, a lot of doctors say it's good for you because it has fiber, and the fiber is only important if you're eating if you're eating too many carbs.
right,
If you're not eating too many carbs, you don't really need fiber. You're fine.
right. So carnivore, we don't need to worry about too much fiber.
Oh,
Exactly.
that's good to know. That's yeah.
This one here,
um,
flavonoids. So
flavonoids are important for some people. Yeah.
yeah, why is that? What is the risk of these genes?
So it's interesting. This person's got 3 of them here, and then you see that one on the bottom. It's CDKAL1. So they have 4 flavonoid related genes. So anytime you see CDK, it's like CDKN2A, N2B,
Right,
N2BAS1,
and
CDKL1.
this one here,
Exactly. Like CDK is a form of inflammation.
right?
And basically, it's like having your hot water turned on too hot. And the good news is this gene, all of these CDK genes, they shut it off. CDKN2A turns down that hot water, turns down that inflammation.
The
The
flavonoids.
problem, I'll get to flavonoids, but you see that because it's a plus plus gene,
Yep.
that means it doesn't turn down the inflammation as much as it should.
Okay.
And a lot of the genes here, like there's 4 of them, so there's a lot less there's a lot more CDK in this person's body. But the good news is that flavonoids shut off that hot water. They inhibit CDK.
Right.
So they turn down that inflammation. So they're really important for this person. Whereas most people don't have these genes, it's not that big of a deal if they're eating colorful plants or not. But some people, it is important either to get a supplement that has flavonoids or get berries or something. I did a consult with a guy from Finland, and he's like, oh, it's okay, I eat lingonberries. Well, I'd never even heard of lingonberries, so I had to look them up and make sure they had flavonoids, but they were full of flavonoids. Basically, any berry, even if it tastes weird or whatever, it's probably got a lot of flavonoids.
Excellent. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. So that's hot water, CDK.
It's like having your hot water turned on too hot. Yeah,
It's
that's just the
also,
analogy for inflammation.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's a great analogy. They're really helpful. Yeah, definitely. So leaky gut, pretty big one, this one.
It's yeah, oh yeah, and this is where the risk for, depression and anxiety come in if you're
Right.
not dialed in on these genes.
So leaky gut's going to make you feel kind of crap, anxious,
Oh
or
yeah.
irritable, or even irritable, I guess.
Well, especially if you've got genes where your serotonin is not as dialed in your
Right.
brain.
Yeah.
So then you're very disposed to that. Some people can have leaky gut and yeah, they get joint issues or they get some kind of an autoimmune thing like psoriasis or something else, and their brain is fine. Other people, they just get depression,
Yeah.
and their skin is fine. And they don't get the psoriasis or whatever. It varies based on your other genes, but yeah, the gut is a really important topic because most people have some genes in this section, and it's important to dial them in and figure out precisely which ones you have and which ones how to work around those.
Yeah.
Because everybody's different.
Vitamins and hormones.
Yep, your favorite topic, the
Yeah.
hormones.
Yeah, man. V8 hormones.
You got it. um, it's interesting here. This person's got a risk for higher iron. So remember that high iron gene where iron can cause heart disease, and then SOD2, superoxide dismutase, like you mentioned.
Yeah, this one here. So that ties
Exactly. So
this ties into
to the risk of having high iron. Yep.
the risk of having high iron.
So
that's a double
HFE.
type situation.
It's a little extra risk. I mean, thankfully, it's just a plus minus, this
Yep.
HFE gene. It's a hemochromatosis gene, meaning it's a risk for really high iron. But again, it's plus minus. It might be perfectly normal. It might be outrageously high. It's hard to tell with plus minus genes, but definitely important to check that with this person. And again, like everybody's different. Vitamin D, it's very simple. Just supplement that. Avoid seed oils, also very simple. Very, very important, but
Seed oils, yes.
they're trash. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another one, we were just talking about how oatmeal and how doctors tell you to eat oatmeal and it's good for you, and they tell you to eat whole grains and all this shenanigans.
Yeah.
They tell you to take canola, like they say, like switch to canola oil, it's good for you. It's such bullshit. It's completely backwards.
No, you're not telling me that. That's the mayonnaise I used to pick for that purpose. I thought this mayonnaise is not good. I gotta eat cannoli.
Hilarious.
I was looking
Exactly.
for that in the probably right before I started with Mark. I was looking for that stuff, and I
Yeah, get the olive oil stuff. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, that's just marketing. There's so much marketing power in America and in a lot of countries in terms of like the food industry, because it's not actual science. It's just like this idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. There's no science for that. That's just marketing. That's from the Kellogg company from like the 1950s, and the doctors will tell you that as if it's scientific. It's not. It's the opposite of science.
Yeah. Or autophagy. I mean, you knock out
Exactly.
autophagy every day.
Exactly. You're just shutting off your autophagy, your cellular recycling.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, crazy. And this pesticides, cleaning chemicals, has to be very careful.
Yeah, with the seed oils especially. Yep. Yeah, testosterone looks good here, thankfully. SHBG probably high. Estrogen is phenomenal here. Thyroid. I mean, yeah, of course we look at all these genes.
Yeah.
I had somebody today with like 5 genes in that estrogen section, and a couple of genes in the testosterone section, and their sex hormones were all screwed up.
Mm.
And yeah, it's a problem, especially as you age. Like don't be afraid to get on TRT cream if you need it or whatever. Thyroid replacement can also be a lifesaver for people.
If they got
Histamine
really bad
intolerance.
genetics, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
Histamines can be pretty problematic for people. That's a pretty rare gene. Actually, I don't see that one very often.
Really?
I guess it's the minor one, so it's not as bad. It's called AOC, which is funny in America because we have a politician that people call AOC, and she's really inflammatory, just like histamines are inflammatory.
Yeah.
Um, and it's amine oxidase containing. AOC stands for amine oxidase containing, or copper containing. Amine oxidase copper containing. The C stands for copper.
Yep.
And generally, if you supplement copper, it really helps with histamine clearance with that gene. So that's really important because
Okay. So it's only a minor effect, but copper is
that one's a
definitely
minor gene. But yeah,
right.
copper is the key there. And
Excellent.
you get liver. If you eat liver, you get lots of copper. So there's always food sources
Mm.
um, to try and avoid.
Spirulina's got lots of copper, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah, I didn't know that. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I always try and work around the supplements and just get real food first.
Yeah.
But yeah, some people hate to eat liver for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I've yeah. I don't like to eat the organ meats, but I guess it's probably something I should entertain because
The only way I do liver pate with bacon,
that sounds
and
nice.
it's actually really good. If you
Yeah.
use a food processor and make it creamy smooth, it's actually amazing.
Okay. So what do? You cook it first and then
Yep,
process it? Yep. Okay. Cook it
yep,
first and process it with bacon.
exactly. My kids
Yeah.
love it, and they're
That
picky,
sounds
so
all
I
right.
know it's good.
Yeah. That sounds all right. I might try that. I'll put
Yeah,
a bit of MTC oil in it as well. Yeah. It'd be nice.
yeah, good idea.
Mm.
Yeah, I freeze it. We do a bunch of it because it's kind of a lot of work to use the food processor. It's messy.
Yeah.
And then what we do is we make a whole bunch of glass containers of it, and then we freeze it down. And then you can just take one out every couple weeks and just have it. And I mean, we're not eating it constantly, but the kids
Yeah.
go through it just like that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
I
good to
think
have
it's
it
only
around.
like 30 or 40 grams every other day of liver. That's something. It's not much, is it?
Yeah, and then we just do it like once a week,
Yeah.
or maybe even once every other week. It's got so many vitamins. And by the way, your liver stores vitamins. So, when you eat liver, it's full of vitamins, but then your body turns around and stores those in your own liver. So it's not like you have to keep eating them every day because you're storing them just like a cow stores them.
And I guess this person's not going to do too well on cannabis.
Yeah, it's going to really demotivate them. It's going to shut down their dopamine. So they're just going to be really tired and, you know, hopefully they don't do cannabis if they've got a career, at least, during the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they'll probably lose their job. But yeah, everybody's different. Some
Yeah.
people are high performing.
My genes for cannabis were terrible. It was schizophrenic, I think you said.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those ones are the worst, and the paranoia and things like that. There's other ones.
Mm.
Um,
What have we got
yeah,
here?
bilirubin is hot. Yeah, that's hot on this one. So this person definitely needs to check their bilirubin in their blood. That's unusual. Most people don't have to worry about it. If it's high, it can lead to gallstones, and if you've got gallstones, the only way to get rid of them is to surgically remove your gallbladder,
Yeah.
which is terrible because then for the rest of your life, you got to take like supplements every time you want to eat fat. Like you have to take enzymes and stuff, and it's like this big ordeal just to eat fats.
Wow. Yeah.
So you don't want to, for this person, you don't want to get in that situation. It's hard, it's pretty easy to avoid, especially in Australia, because you can just go out in the sun.
Right. So what does that do? That
It
helps the
breaks
liver.
down bilirubin.
Right. So going out in the sun, I guess on the skin, it signals enzymes to trigger the process to extract the bilirubin.
Exactly. Well, it just breaks it down straight up. Yeah, just like tattoos get broken down by sunshine.
Really?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and UV does it in general. Like you could go to a tanning bed and use the ultraviolet there. Like that's what when you have a tattoo, that's what laser removal is. It literally just shoots the heavy metal particles under. So tattoos are heavy metals like cobalt and cadmium and chromium.
Wow. That's pretty toxic of itself.
Yeah, yeah, I know. There are a lot of them are really toxic,
Wow.
especially the colorful ones. But you hit those with the laser,
Mm.
and it breaks the particles of heavy metals are pretty big when they inject them under skin, so they stay there. Your immune system can't clear them out because your immune cells are too small to eat them and
Mm.
clear them out.
Yep.
But then if you hit them with a laser, you can break them into smaller pieces and your immune cells can take them out and it fades away really quick.
Yeah.
And sunshine does the same thing. It's not quite as effective as a laser that you hit with a really high, like intensity, but Sunshine definitely breaks those down, and breaks down bilirubin also in the same way.
Bilirubin, yeah. All right. So
So if a person
sunshine.
has a tattoo, does that impact them for life? Meaning, if they don't get it off, does it impact them for life because of those chemicals in them, or is
Yeah,
it
there's
just
like a very slow leaching of chemicals. It depends on the tattoo,
okay?
and what's in it.
Okay.
But yeah, if I was getting a tattoo, I don't have any, but if I was, I'd be very interested in the labels on the ink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So B status. This is not too bad for this person, apart
it's
from B.
good,
Yeah. All of mine were crap through here.
right? Yeah, a lot of people. Now B12, and this person has an advantage for dealing with taking up a B12. So yeah, a lot of good genes here.
Yep. Except for this vitamin E.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yeah,
this
vitamin E.
tocopherol is made from petroleum in supplements.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that version is going to cause inflammation. It'll literally increase C-reactive protein, which is a marker that doctors use for inflammation. So
Mm-hmm.
people will take these multivitamins, or they take vitamin E specifically, or they're putting vitamin E lotion on their skin. It's actually causing inflammation. So they're paying money to buy a supplement that causes inflammation. It's crazy. At least when you have these genes.
So this synthetic version, that's what it is. So you can get
Exactly.
the correct version. What's that
Yep.
called again?
Tocotrienols.
Tocotrienols, yeah.
Yep.
So there's two versions: the fake, shitty, cheap ass one that the supplement company makes, but then you
Yep.
can also get the good version as well.
Exactly. If you have skin issues or whatever. Usually people don't even need to buy the good version. They just need to avoid the fake stuff, the petroleum stuff, and they're fine with that gene.
Yeah. And so we go to gene, gym genes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this person's fast twitch, which is pretty normal. I'd say 80% of people are more on the fast twitch side, meaning like heavy lifting is better for them as opposed to doing lots of cardio and stuff like that. But sometimes you find people where they really need to be doing cardio a lot, and that's really beneficial. The joint section here is actually pretty good. To only have like 2 genes here is not too big of a deal. That one is triggered by high insulin, just like you mentioned. High blood sugar is a pretty big risk with HLA-DRB9.
Right, so this one up here, high insulin's gonna, that's high glucose in and
Yep.
of itself, I
Yep.
guess, too. So yeah.
Yeah, high blood sugar, that's going to be the problem there. And then the DIO2 is triggered by low thyroid. So if your thyroid hormones are good, there's no risk for arthritis there. If your thyroid hormones are low, it's called osteoarthritis. So there's two. There's rheumatoid arthritis, which is when your immune system attacks your soft tissues in your joints and chews them up and wrecks them. And that's the first gene, HLA-DRB9. But the second gene, DIO2, that's a risk for osteoarthritis. Osteoarthritis is when your soft tissue just kind of slowly degrades, and then you get bones rubbing on bones, and that hurts like hell.
Yeah.
And if your thyroid hormones are low with this gene, that's the risk you have, osteoarthritis.
Osteo with low thyroid.
Yep. So
That's why you got the
just
eye
fix
going.
your thyroid. Yeah. Fix
Yeah.
your thyroid, you prevent that.
Yeah.
It's all preventable, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Blood flow's super important. It's just basically get out and move. You know?
Yep.
Gout, avoid sugar is generally one of the most important things with that plus gene.
Yep.
It's a fructose transporter that transports uric acid into your joints. So like, a lot of people, they get gout, which is like, it's like having glass shards or glass chips in your joints. It hurts. And the doctors will tell you to stop eating meat because you have gout. That's like the standard practice that they do. It's so absurd because number one, people's genetics are different. So they're just giving somebody blanket advice is absurd. And especially because meat is unbelievably healthy for people, at least if it's good quality meat.
Yeah.
And then number two, most people that have genetic risk, it's related to sugar and especially fructose. So like, and they're drinking apple juice and orange juice and sometimes even soda, and they're eating a lot of fruits and stuff like that's the real risk when you have that gene. If you have gout, you got to pull the plug on sugar completely, especially fructose.
Fructose, yeah.
But
yeah, it's basically a sugar problem, not a meat problem. Yeah.
Exactly. Nothing to do with meat. Discs here, plus minuses, thankfully. If they were plus plus, it'd be really problematic. But yeah, collagen, that collagen gene, collagen 11A1, get collagen, supplement collagen, take bone broth. Some people now coming on podcasts saying collagen's not not that good for you, et cetera, et cetera. It is if you got these genes. It's always context, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
not, people don't have to spend thousands of dollars on supplements every year just shooting in the dark and guessing. It's very precise.
Once you know your genes, you know what to supplement, you know what to avoid and everything else. Yeah.
Exactly. You got to pull the right levers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blood pressure here is pretty good. Just exercise and keep your body weight down. This person will be fine. Pain sensitivity, what do we got? Too low sensitivities. Wow, really low sensitivity to pain in this person, which is awesome. Generally, that's good because then you don't feel pain, you're tougher, but the problem is you get injured because you don't feel pain and then you blow your knee out. So instead of like stopping when you're out jogging, instead of stopping, you just keep going because you don't feel anything, and then you get a really big consequence. So that's what this person has to watch out for.
Yeah, that can be a bad thing. Yeah, definitely. That's the same as me, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Mm.
As long as you don't get injured. Sleep difficulties, yeah, there's a lot here in this section. I mean, again, everybody's different, we don't have to go through all these individually, but
Yeah.
the take home is that some people have sleep issues and it's related to magnesium, some people it's related to potassium, some people it's melatonin, some people it's this, some people it's that.
Yeah.
It's very different. And the very bottom here is the blue light sensitivity. And some people, the blue light sensitivity, they're looking at screens. Yeah, there we go, plus minus. I mean, some people have plus genes in that section. So it's variable. Some people, they can look at screens and watch TV right before they go to bed and they sleep plenty good. Other people, it destroys their sleep and they need to stop doing that,
Yeah.
or at least wear blue blocker glasses if they're
At
going to
night
do that.
time.
So like I say, it's variable, and that's kind of the take home with all of this is, the more that people optimize in a precise way, the healthier they're going to be. And the beauty of DNA is that it doesn't change.
Yeah.
Your DNA is the same for your whole life. It's not like your blood test. Like the glucose is going to change, your testosterone level is going to go up and down, your thyroid hormones your DNA is going to stay the same all the time. So once you do this, you have that knowledge. You don't have to
Yeah.
keep, going back and redoing it.
Yeah. It's basically you know how to eat for performance.
Exactly.
Well, it's not, I guess what you guys are saying, as you get healthier, it doesn't change. It's still the same risk and these
Exactly.
hormones, but now you're taking care of yourself. So how do you know if you got the DNA test, you know what you need to work on, you've been working on it for 6 months or whatever, how do you know if you're starting to actually get better in these areas? Just how you feel, or is there something you folks check, or?
Right. Well, yeah, it depends on the person, right? Like if you got high bilirubin genes and you've had high blood tests for bilirubin in the past, and get out in the sunshine, and if your bilirubin is still high, sometimes you have to take aspirin every day, like a baby aspirin every single day to get it down. Like there's different things you have to do in different situations, but that's where the blood tests come in and the checking and stuff. So sometimes, yeah, it just depends on how you feel, and usually you do feel a hell of a lot better, but sometimes you got to go back to the blood work and keep refining it. But at least at least you're checking your bilirubin and not ignoring it, which probably would happen. Like, how often have you checked your bilirubin? You know what I mean? Like, probably never. And that's okay because that's a pretty rare gene. You know what I mean? So that's why I use that as an example, because most people, their bilirubin doesn't really matter. It's fine. It's great.
Yeah.
So you
So
see a
yeah.
lot you can see the improvement from the blood work and maybe the
Oh yeah.
omega-3 ratio.
Oh yeah. Well, which is also a blood work test, right? Like a lot of it. Yeah, you can test a lot of things with blood work if you request it in a real specific way. You say, "Oh, I want my homocysteine." Well, how many people are asking their doctors to check homocysteine? Not a lot of them. But if you need to, they'll do it for you.
So as we learn about, for example, myself, you guys will know the questions that for me to ask when I get my blood work. Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah. All right.
Anything else?
No, man, I think we've covered the three things that I wanted to cover, which is cholesterol, the chemicals, and how we're going to do this DNA consult to show them how much power we've got to customize food to increase our performance and longevity. but also
Yeah.
increase our health span. So we're living with more energy and, for a longer period of time.
Exactly.